So this video is going to show you how to stop deducting housing fund in February 2024, and if you had deducted in January 2024, how you can refund those amounts. So if I go to my payslips and I look at my January, this is in my sample data. If I say full, and I could either scroll down and look for my housing funds, or I can just come here and say GovDebt housing fund to filter by that. So I have these three that I want to refund. This is January. So one way you can get this, let me show you two ways. So if I put that back and I switch this off and I come to reports, one way that you can get the housing fund details is you can export this full report and it'll give you the housing fund. Where is it? I think it's this one. Okay, so you can export and extract it from that. Another way you can do it is using this select items. Go down, find GovDebt here and tick that and click in another line to save. And then what you can do is, as long as you're in January, so let's switch this to export so that I'll export both and show you how you can extract from both. So using these select items after I have selected housing fund, if I click this, it looks like I had selected something else, so I'll say yes and I go to my test folder. It'll export. Let me open that. It has exported basic pay, which means that had been ticked and GovDebt, so I don't need this. So if I delete that and I open this, here is my list of those things. The other thing you could do is use your full payroll details. Again, let's go test. So it takes a little bit longer. It does a few other things. Say yeah, this time I don't need to say yes because the folder is already open. Go to the folder. Here it is. So I can go to my housing fund. Where is it? Reliefs. Here it is. Okay. So I can get the data from those two. I prefer this one. So let me open this. So I want to create a new sheet that I'll use to import. So let's say here new. House levy for Jan 2024 to refund. Okay, so I create the file, I open the file, and I only want two columns. I want these two, so I copy that, and I don't copy the totals. If you're using the other sheet to copy, don't copy the totals. I usually come right click and I click this so that I get it without any formatting. It's not mandatory, but I just prefer to do that. So then the next thing to do is to change the headings to the default for importing, emp name and amount 1, no space, amount 1, like that. So this is the default for importing, emp name, amount 1. All right, so I've got my figures. So I save that file. Let's close the others. So this is my file for importing. I come back to my system. I want to reimburse, so I come to payslip items, click view by section ID, and I want to use a free of tax reimbursement because I don't want this to be taxed. This is not additional pay that will be taxed, so I want it to come after the payment of taxation. So I have these default reimbursement free of tax items, so I can use this one, this reimbursement. So of course it's off, so I need to activate it. So I say yes, it becomes FVC. I close and I come back to, let's go, I just want to switch off the volume on my phone, and then I come back here. So to import it, I come import salary, import data, I go to my test, I take that, I say yes. Once I am sure I have got my figures correctly, I match names. This is how you always import. You import the two columns, you match the names, transfer to add batch. From here, you're able to dump the data into any of the apps. In our case, we want to go to varying. Make sure you're in February. select free of tax reimbursed. I typed F to take me to the free of tax section, and then I selected that. Then I click add to varying, say yes, and here it is now. I've added it as a free of tax reimbursement. This is in February. Okay, that's number one. Then now I want to switch off housing fund. The easiest way to do it, I suggest you keep, so on the employee side, if I go to rates and I select housing fund here, I don't want to switch this off because there's a likelihood that the housing fund will come back. So what I want to do is to come here, statutory rates, and I want to change this to 2024. Oops. Now to change that, you have to click here, editable. I usually do this to make sure that, just to add a step to make sure that when you are making changes here, I want you to think twice because this affects your statutory calculations. That's why I added that step. So once I click editable, I'm able to change this, and I want to say that this happened up to January, and I click in another line to save. So it started 2023 July, and the last month was Jan. Why am I keeping Jan? Because I already processed Jan and it had housing levy. Okay, so I don't want, if I process Jan again, if I say this to December, if I process Jan again, January will not have housing fund. Then the refund I'm making in February won't make sense. So do this. Now, if it comes back in March, then we may have to make a change on the employee list. But let's on the rates here. But let's address that when that time comes. Okay. So now I come back to payslips and reports here again. So now I'm in February. I've switched off housing fund and I've added the reimbursement. If I process, those are the two things that I should see. I should see housing fund not deducted. So the easiest is to just look at one payslip. So I come view. So I come down here, government deductions. There is no housing fund, and there should be a reimbursement here. Now, one thing I didn't do was put in a comment on the reimbursement. So what do? I can come here, I can tick all, delete. I want to import again with a comment to show you how you can put a comment on everybody. So let's come here, say yes, match names, transfer to add batch. I can type here Jan 2024 house levy refund, and then I click this button here, 2 arrows, and then now I add it. So I come, make sure I'm in February again, type F to take me down to here, reimbursed, add to varying, make sure you're in February. I have F, and it's everybody will have this Jan 2024 house levy refund. So I need the change to be propagated here, so I process. And you can see it says here Jan house levy refund. If you look at the payslip, now you have that comment, reimbursement January 2024 house levy refund, and this figure is added to net pay to adjust net cash, and of course does not affect your payee taxation because it doesn't come up here at the top. So that's how to switch off housing fund for February and refund January.